Good evening. You are tuned into WRAS Atlanta and WRAS HD1 and HD2 Atlanta. This is Album 88. Tonight is the sixth and final installment in MTM Review, the show where we round up everything going on with Georgia State University's very own student-run record label, music distribution company, and sync house, MTM Standard. My name is Wesley Barrett, and as always, I will be your host for tonight's show. Tonight's guest will be the amazing hip-hop artist John Yesha, who released his latest single, titled 365, last week on April 12th. The single was placed in the film Rejuvenation, produced by Tom Luz of Walking Dead fame, along with a student crew. Later on, our final guests, not only for tonight's show, but this semester's series of shows, are the professor masterminds and advisors of MTM Standard, Thrash and Ben Yonas. This is actually the final show for this semester, and I just want to say, it has been an honor and a privilege to be able to produce these shows for Album 88 and help establish the partnership between Album 88 and MTM Standard. I feel there's a lot of potential in this partnership and hope to see them working even closer in the future. As I'm graduating in 2 weeks on May 2nd, I'm not sure what the future of this show holds, so make sure to stay tuned to both Album 88's and MTM's socials. Before we get into the core of the show, though, we have a couple housekeeping things to get out of the way first. First off, this program is produced in partnership with MTM Standard Music Group, Georgia State University's student-run record label and sync house. Some portions of this program may be graded schoolwork for students in the College of the Arts. Opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Album 88, MTM Standard, or the College of the Arts. For more information on our continued commitment to editorial independence in all of student media, please visit mtmstandard.com/WRAS. And side note, that link, mtmstandard.com/WRAS, can also be used to learn more about the show and re-listen to past episodes or episodes you may have missed. All episodes will also be made available tomorrow on MTM Standard's YouTube channel. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always contact the station during business hours at 404-413-9727. That's 404-413-WRAS. Or, with questions about this show specifically, you can send an email to me at wes7629@gmail.com. Once again, that is WES7629@gmail.com. All right, with all of that out of the way, as always, we're first going to start off with MTM Happenings, a segment just about what's going on with MTM and what y'all out there can do to jump on the bandwagon. So, last week was incredibly busy for students part of MTM Standard, as both our first ever music festival as well as our second annual Sync Conference both took place last weekend. The first of those, the music festival, took place at the GSU Student Carnival last Friday at the Green Lot, in collaboration with both Spotlight and INSEG. Over the course of 3 hours, 9 different MTM artists consisting of all different genres performed at the festival to a pretty sizable crowd. And then later on in the weekend, we then had our second annual Sync Conference on campus, hosting 10 different music supervisors from both Atlanta and across the country. Such supervisors included Jen Malone, known for Euphoria and Wednesday, Thomas Golubic, known for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and Justine von Winterfeld, known for X-Men 97 and Trolls. Such events included a private listening party with select MTM artists, Q&A panels, and many networking opportunities. As MTM Sync Director myself, I very much enjoyed the weekend and being able to meet many different people, hear their perspectives, and learn more about this ever-growing intersection of the music and film industries. And to segue from that, it's actually time to introduce our first guest. That guest is John Yesha. John Yesha is a hip-hop artist right here from Atlanta and released his hotly anticipated single, 365, last week on April 12th. This song was featured in the GSU-produced movie Rejuvenation, produced by Tom Luz of Walking Dead fame, and was one of MTM Sync's very first placements. Bryan Gallegos sat down with Yesha to hear a bit more about his process.
Hey, welcome to our final episode of MTM Review. It's your host, as always, Bryan, and with our guest,
John Yesha.
So let's just get into it. Who are you and where are you from?
My name's John Yesha. Well, my artist name is John Yesha. My name is Isaiah Dennis. I'm from Atlanta.
So when did you get your start with music?
I guess starting as far as like just dealing with music, it started in my parents' van when I was a kid. They used to always play like Arrested Development and like Most Def and Talib Kweli, Black Star, stuff like that. That influenced like how I viewed music and how I viewed like being an MC and how I viewed hip hop in general, stuff like that.
And did you do anything hands-on? Like were you in band or did you get your start?
I was in orchestra for a couple years, for a good bit of years. And that's what helped me find, I guess, my ear for like order. Because before that point, it was just kind of just like chaotic, artistic feeling, etc. But when I got into orchestra, learning notes, learning intonation, learning these things, it helped solidify a sort of foundation of there needs to be order within the chaos of artistic expression.
Right. And do you still use that thinking process to your music today?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when I'm mixing. I remember one time but I was talking with my teacher. We were actually in the middle of class, and I played a note on my viola, and she said, "That's really good. That's excellent." And she said, "Class, you see how his note is resonating?" It not only did it make me feel good, but it made me like realize, okay, there's a difference in this. And so when I'm mixing, it definitely plays a role and stuff like that. Like little things like that really play a role in how I view music and how I process it.
And is there any specific reason you're here at Georgia State?
Just because my mom went here. I like the opportunities. I was interested in the program. I've been to other universities, but as far as the music program, I really thought I could really like benefit and just connect with a lot of cool people.
Earlier, you mentioned that some of the genres that really resonated with you is hip hop and pop in general. What are some of the artists that influence your sound right now?
In hip hop now, a lot of Earl Sweatshirt. There's this artist named Rap Ferreira. But when I was listening to him more, his name was Milo. So he's really big on that. Ye, because I think I was born, and during that time, everyone's pretty much influenced.
Right.
And let me think, Pharrell. Like that. Yeah.
What about JPEG Mafia?
Peggy, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's like, now that I'm making like more music after I'm done making like albums and stuff like that, now that I'm listening to certain songs I'm making now, I'm like, oh, I can see how he's like put the fire on, like he really made me think I really gotta do this production thing a little bit better, because he's killing it.
And I asked that because when I was listening to your music yesterday, I think it was Hands High and God Fearing Man that I was like, this sounds a lot like how Peg would do his music, or even the sampling, or just like the intonation of his voice and whatnot. So it reminded me a lot. So I wanted to ask if Peg was any of your influence.
Yeah, Peggy's in my playlist. Like every other playlist, he's probably got 2 songs in there.
Nice. So what goes into your songmaking process?
It's really off the cuff. I don't like overthinking it. I kind of go with whatever I feel at the time. Like that's why I really don't like making music for a specific subject, because I feel like once you make it about this one subject, it evolves into something totally more and totally different. And I'm trying to learn how to reel that in. And again, learn from the same thing I talked about before, which is that I need to have some order within the creative chaos. So yeah, I'm trying to get better with that when it comes to writing.
So you just mentioned writing, but what about like the beat making, the producing, mixing? Do you do all that yourself, or do you have a producer and whatnot?
Yeah.
What goes into the process of just beat making in general?
I started making beats when I was like 16. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was always really good at it. Like even my first beats were like really good. And I don't know why. I think it's because it was held in for so long. And so now it's making a beat is easy. I think the most difficult part is actually making a full song. Because making a beat could be easy, writing some raps could be easy, even mixing a beat could be easy. But to actually make that coincide with like a full project or a full package that comes with the song, where comes the lyrics and the feeling, all that stuff is what's really important, I think.
And what about your sampling? There was some song, Mind Your Edge, I believe, where you sampled "Love Like You" from Steven Universe and whatnot. And there was this other song that you sampled. Oh, man, it's evading me right now, but it was just it's very unique, and it reminded me like how you said Ye was one of the big influences. It reminded me how Ye used to sample earlier in his music career. What goes into your sampling mindset when you do that?
I just sample stuff that really interests me.
Mm-hmm.
Like my go-to is like Final Fantasy X, Steven Universe,
Right.
like just play things that I feel like the music is just next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Final Fantasy X I think is the best soundtrack of any video game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Steven Universe has some of the best music of any TV show ever. So I just go to places like that and then just kind of branch off and find samples that are obscure, but also give me some semblance of familiarity so I can do right by it.
Right. What's your favorite sample that you've done so far?
It was God-Fearing Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a sample from Sonic Adventure 2.
Right.
And I love
I did hear that. Yeah. That part of it. Yeah.
I love those scenes in the game, and I was like, I want to do something right with this. And it just turned out really good. So
it was an amazing song, yeah. And also notice in your music, it also notates God a bunch. I think I saw like 3 to 4 tracks in different projects you made, referencing God or even the title God-Fearing Man. But with your music, it's very poppy, very clubby. You know what I mean? Not somewhere you would see music regarding God. You know what I mean? So what's the connect between that?
Just understanding a lot of artists that I listen to, and they reference God. It's never in the most direct way. It always has some semblance of nuance to it. I've learned that with like Pharrell's music. I've learned that with Ye's music, except when they do like gospel albums.
Right.
And that's something interesting. I kind of have a thing with gospel music where I kind of feel kind of iffy about it, because I feel like we could give the same nuance and gravitas that we have for every song that is gospel, even if it's gospel without it being, some of that stuff, but corny.
Right.
So I try every moment to infuse God in my music, because eventually I want to make a gospel album.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want it to sound corny.
Right.
So it's just practicing so that eventually when I get to that point, it'll sound good.
Currently, you have 2 fully released albums with an extensive track list and another one on the way. What goes into making your an album, and how was making your first album?
Making my first album was interesting because I made my first mixtape when I was like 18, 17, 18. I made my first mixtape and that was fun. And then I was like, well, I just started making songs up until that point. And then it got to a point, ironically, it was during quarantine, I was bored. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually sit down and make a song.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down. It took me about a day, and I made 365.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I can actually do this.
Right.
This is so good that I think I can actually. So then I made my album. And then I made that album, and it was cool. And I was like, but it didn't fit. 365 didn't fit the album. Mm-hmm. Later on, I'm putting 365 on my newest album. But yeah, like just figuring out, that was that moment when I was making 365 that I was like, yeah, I could do this. Mm-hmm. I could actually make music and be good at it and make a living off it, I think.
So going back to 365, I think it's really interesting that you said you made it all the way back in the pandemic, but it's now releasing. And it's also been recently picked up for a Georgia State short film made by the same people who made like episodes for The Walking Dead and whatnot. How does that feel, having your song like chosen by, like, I guess, those monuments in the industry? It's
unreal. I haven't even fully believed it. So I just kind of like keep going.
Right.
Like that's my kind of thing, is if I don't make it seem like it's such a big deal, then when the other things start to happen in my life, it will be sort of a self-manifestation type thing.
Right.
Where it's like I'm not thinking of it as like this major thing. So now more of it's going to come because I'm prepared to deal with it.
Right. And it was picked up because of your involvement with Sync and MTM.
Yeah.
How did you start with MTM?
I mean, I just honestly, I just came home from the hospital like 2 years ago, and I was looking for a school that I had to go to because I'm like, I need to finish school.
Right. And
I looked at Georgia State. Mom's like, why don't you try to go to the school that I went to and your sister went to? Sister graduated from there. the shoot, I was like, why not? I looked and I saw that there was a music program. I was like, all right, cool. So I went to the music program and I showed them my music. I showed Ben my music. He was like, what? he was like, yeah, he was like, it was really dope. So he was more influential in getting me in the studio, and I showed him my music. He was like, oh, this is dope, this is dope, this is dope. And we just started collaborating,
Right.
I guess. And that's how I was like introduced to MTM.
And I felt very similar when I was first like listening to your music, because when you find a new artist or an artist that's coming up, you can tell that they're new. You know what I'm saying? They have a particular sound that like, okay, they're new. But when I was listening to your music, it already sounded like you're established, like you were playing in these clubs, playing in these blah, 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 blah. It already sounded like you had a presence. So I think it's very interesting that even, Ben himself also saw that. What other ways has MTM helped you besides giving you like your own little area to make your music and whatnot? What?
They really helped develop the confidence that I could do some more. Because I think making 365 or making another song they like is A Boy Without a Gun. You make certain songs like that and you're like, I'm not going to top that. It's going to be what it is. And then when I go to MTM and I go to the studio and I play some of my music, it shows me, okay, this isn't a fluke. I can do more.
Right.
So MTM definitely helps instill that confidence, I think. Not instill, but definitely help develop that confidence.
And would you say you struggle with that type of thinking, like that imposter syndrome a lot?
All the time. All the time.
How do you go about like, you just mentioned that MTM helps you reinforce that confidence, but let's say MTM wasn't there. How would you have gone about like regaining your confidence? How would you overcome that hurdle?
I would kind of let things run its course because I'm not going to lie, my ego is huge. So I try to taper.
Right.
Or tamper, is that the word? I try to make sure that it's under control.
Right.
Because I understand through my art or through something else, it's gonna come out. I'm gonna be so frustrated that I'm not getting any attention that I'm going to make amazing music just to get people's attention. And I understand that that's just a part of me. It helps when I'm around other people, especially like MTM or something like that. It helps that I can pretty much stay pretty calm, be myself, and then I'll just, because people are around that are propping me up or helping me get that confidence, it'll move me to try to do more.
Right. And moving back to your music, is there any particular message you're trying to say with your music, or is there an audience out there that you're trying to reach?
I mean, yeah. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody would hear my music if it wasn't for like a select few of people that I know. Because I just make music because I'm bored. Right. And it feels good. I'd do it for free forever if I could, but I understand I have to make a living in life. When I do share it with people, I want people that are like me, that feel kind of like alone, misunderstood, awkward, like any of that. I want them to feel like they have someone that's equally as awkward, equally as annoying. I try to be as vulnerable as possible. That way people can connect with that.
And do you think you get that trait from artists like Earl Sweatshirt that you mentioned before?
Kid Cudi.
Kid
Cudi,
really?
definitely.
Right.
Kid Cudi, Milo, Kilo Quiche. Yeah.
I noticed that most of your tracks, if all of your tracks, matter of fact, don't really have any collaborations with them, or it's always just you. Are you open to do collaborations in the future, or is there ones that you're currently working on?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Cassidy, we worked on a song on my album called Huey P. Newton. And it's like really cool. It's just really dope. And then me and Ferg have a song called Blood Money. Right. It's one of those songs I made while I was manic. Right. So the lyrics are just so egregiously, like, not vile, but it's explicit. Right. But I think he brought the energy I was looking for with that. So, and while it won't make it on this album, next one I think I'm definitely gonna put. Or we'll just put it out.
So, can you tell me more about this new album they're coming out with John?
Yeah, John is like an amalgam of like a whole bunch of like scrapped ideas. Like 365, that was like a pop album I was supposed to do. It's like, well, one of the scrapped ideas, just I haven't done it yet. So I took a couple of the pop songs that I made. I was supposed to make a house album, didn't do that, but I took a couple of house albums. And so I did all that, and that's what it is, just a whole bunch of songs that either didn't make it or that were a part of a narrative that could fit an album. my friend said it sounds like a charcuterie of sounds.
Real.
Yeah.
So we keep mentioning and touching on 365 and whatnot. Can you talk more about it? Like, what was the process behind it? What was the conception of 365 basically?
Yeah, I mean, 365 started off, I was in quarantine. I was super bored. Yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I should say this. I was just depressed. Like it was very depressing in quarantine.
So bad.
And so I was like, I might as well make music. And so I made a song about wanting to be out when we're locked down.
Mm-hmm.
And it just became this whole thing. And it wrote itself.
Mm-hmm.
The entire thing wrote itself. The beat basically made itself. And it seems, and now that I'm looking at it and now that I hear it, it seems more complicated than it really was.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty simple to make. And yeah, when I made 365, it was just really cool. When I heard it, I was like, oh, this is really good. It was really fun to make.
So 3 to 5 years from now, you're done with MTM. You're still an artist and whatnot. What can we expect from you?
Maturity, growth, me taking this a little bit more seriously.
Is there a particular reason you don't right now at the moment?
Because I don't have to.
Real.
And so once life forces me to be like, listen, you're gonna have to really take this seriously.
Right.
Like it already is, but I think it's gonna take something really wonderful happening, where it's like automatically a flip switches in my head, and I'm like, okay, I need to actively move on this, and I need to actively become a better artist. I need to become a better musician. I need to become a better writer. But I already know, because I know how I am, that's an eventuality. Happens every day.
Real. So, I mean, that was very long term, but what about short term? What's new for you in the coming months?
Releasing this album, finding a way to perform with MS. Like, that's another thing. Like, I was supposed to perform for this album. Because of MS and because of overheating, performing in the daylight it's possible. It's not a good place for me. So it's just trying to figure out those things, and I know I'm going to. So it's just figuring out those and appreciating the art for what it is and appreciating whatever comes of it. And yeah.
So as we begin to wrap up, is there anybody you would like to shout out or just give thanks to?
Yeah, I want to shout out Ben. Ben really helped me out, and it's been helping me. It's been really cool. My parents, that's really cool. My friends, because they're like a barometer of what would be good to release, what wouldn't be. My doctor, Dr. Beal, and that's about it.
Real. Is there anywhere we can find you on social medias?
Yeah, Johnny _ Yesha on Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. So yeah, just find me on Instagram.
Real.
Spotify, John Yesha. Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services, John Yesha. And if you look on SoundCloud, John Yesha there too, because I have some unreleased stuff there. So I would tell people to check that out too.
Sick. So this has been MTM Review with our final episode with
John Yesha
and your host Bryan Gallegos. And to take you out with, we're gonna be playing 365 off of John Yesha's album, John.
Cool. Give me under a minute. I'm probably gonna shower the cardiac past a minute. So at 334 to 285, I got a beat slow where you can't drive. Probably run out of Guinness. I'll be there in a minute. Heard that he was on the radio. Maybe I can pretend he say. Get your man thought he said that many wasn't chosen. Picture plan party, get as big as people posting. Nah. Take it out, pick it up, frozen. Nah. Picture this, you and me close enough. Took too long, that's on me. You got tired, that's on me. But don't worry about it. This song is on me. Matter of fact, we gon' sing like I don't wanna rest no more. We outside until the 364, yeah. So I ain't never been. So I ain't never been. So I remember when you don't wanna rest on me. You outside, so put your chest on me. I don't wanna leave till 5. We outside until the 365. I already got my chest hurt, huh? You can see it, you can really see my best verse, huh? I can really make it silly at the next verse, huh? Why don't you topic, still topic, I'm gonna press play, huh? Yeah, no, take it like a photo. Lately I done picked up a part of me that's worth it. Remember when I told you that a part of you is I don't wanna rest no more. We outside until the 364, yeah. So I ain't never been. So I ain't never been. So I remember when you don't wanna rest on me. You outside, so put your chest on me. I don't wanna leave till 5. We outside until the 365. part about it isn't that people say. It isn't that a part of me is stuck as a kid. The saddest part is I recall whatever you said. The saddest part is all of this to stay in my head. I could barely leave and invest the time, so I stay in my head and speak through rhyme. Wrote this on the edge of my bed, so I make it instead of making a mess. Bless. I don't wanna rest no more. We outside into the 364, yeah. So I ain't never been. So I remember when. You don't wanna rest on me. You outside, so put your trust on me. I don't wanna leave till 5. We outside into the 365. I don't wanna rest no more. We outside into the 364, yeah. So I ain't never been. So I remember when. You don't wanna rest on me. You outside, so put your trust on me. I don't wanna leave till 5. We outside into the 365. It's 2 a.m. and I tried again to make visits so we can. Taking a pass. A newborn jet, shame on his ass. If a king lives the queens like back in the past, if it's actually his kingdom that you would have cast like a shadow caught in a battle, joined by the cattle. It wouldn't have mattered if one of them turned into shadow. We go after the laughter and find the chapters and matters. You would have find the swine is personifying master. A raisin in the sun could still produce a jam before it's done. That don't mean that we decide who lives a life through he or she inside. That just means you're made for purpose. Life is also, don't you hurt, sis. I know, but I can feel the fire. That don't mean you made it, and I don't think so, and I don't drink so, but I look intoxicated. Open up the window. They did that for you though. Preach about it, teach about it, reach out doubt, smoke about it, drink about it, sniff about it, drifting in and out, I shake about it, cough about it, toss about it, I'm lost and now I'm pseudo, widow for nudo, to count the Ludo, I'm Pluto, for us it's Trudeau, never mind the sound, look at them frown, look at them making us picking up down, look at the rich, why they be taking their pics, look at all of their books, tell us the struggle is all in the shook, telling us power is mostly in works, we look at the king and we hoping he looks, but ain't the one taking steps, king ain't the one playing chess, I quicker debate the opponent, he beggars is taking the hell and they claiming this elegant, showing the anime, we play the elephant, Kid without a gun can still impact the world before it's done, life can still repeat inside, so take the world away and we decide, that don't mean what Keith the Jeff is, watch him take a seat and tell us our show, and I can feel the fire, that don't mean you made it, and I don't think so, and I don't drink so, but I look intoxicated, open up the window, they did that for you though, yeah I repeat, let's, don't you worry about us, I know I don't wear enough, I know I don't care enough, I know I don't you worry about us, I know I just swear too much, I know I just bear too much, I know I won't think about it, dream about it, sing about it, speak about it, preach about it, teach about it, reach out doubt, smoke about it, drink about it, sniff about it, drifting in and out, I shake about it, cough about it, toss about it, I'm lost and now I'm
Welcome back to MTM Review on album 88. The songs you just heard were 365 and A Boy Without a Gun. both by artist and GSU student John Yesha. 365 was used in the GSU film Rejuvenation, produced by Tom Lewis of Walking Dead fame. If you like what you heard, you can follow John on Instagram at Johnny_Yesha. As always, with any comments, questions, or concerns, you can call the station during business hours at 404-413-9727. That's 404-413-WRAS. Or if you'd like to contact the show specifically, you can email me at wes7629@gmail.com. Again, that email is wes7629@gmail.com. All right, our second set of guests tonight are likely quite familiar to regular listeners of the show. They are none other than Thrash and Ben Yonas, the professor masterminds and advisors of MTM Standard. Thrash is the head of the music management concentration here at Georgia State, while Ben Yonas is the head of the music production concentration, both of which are the two sides of the music industry program. I myself am one of Professor Yonas' students as I'm graduating from the music production program this semester, and I've worked closely with both of them through the course of my time here at Georgia State. Bryan Gallegos sat down with Professors Thrash and Yonas to hear about just how they set this whole operation up.
Hey, welcome back. It's your host, Bryan, and welcome back to our last episode of MTM Review. For today's episode, we decided to go to the roots of it all. Please welcome our special guests.
I'm Professor Thrash.
And Professor Yonas. Thanks for having us.
Who are you guys and where are you guys from?
Well, I'll start. My name is Thrash, professor of practice at the School of Music. I'm one half of the music industry program. I oversee the music management area where we offer, such courses as music marketing and promotion, distribution courses, copyright, entrepreneurship, etc. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised, lived here most of my life. I moved to Nashville for some time, but, came back to Atlanta. And, excited to be here at Georgia State and specifically sitting in the radio booth of the station I used to listen to when I was in high school.
Really?
Listening to Rhythm and Vibes on Sunday nights from 10 to midnight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was one of our best specialty shows, I think.
10 to 2, sorry. Yeah, let me get it right. Yes.
Amazing. Let me start by saying shout out to Professor Thrash. Without him, I probably wouldn't be working here. So I'm grateful for everything he does at this university. And I'm new to GSU. This is my second year, finishing up my fourth semester. My name is Ben Yonas, and I'm not sure where I'm from. I've lived all over the place. Grew up in Minneapolis, funky town, home of Prince, but that was up until high school ended, and then I've been all over the world since. So lived in London and the Bay Area, New York, LA for a little bit, Memphis for the last 6 years before my family moved here to Atlanta. But I oversee the music production half of the music industry area and have the pleasure of working with the amazing talent on this campus. Georgia State is a special place, especially when it comes to music. Atlanta being a mecca for popular culture, a place where some of the most amazing music is created that gets exported all over the world. So, GSU's right in the middle of that, and it's just such an honor to be able to be part of this.
Nice. So back to you, Professor Thrash. Since you're being an Atlanta native and whatnot, how did you get your start in the music industry?
Well, I would say unofficially, I always kind of credit my start to the music industry to my uncle, my late uncle. His name was Nathan Carter, and Nathan Carter was the chair of the music department at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, and he directed their world-renowned choir, and they would tour all over the world, all over the country. And as when I was of age, 8, 9 years old, whenever they would tour down south, he would allow me to sell the vinyl, sell the cassettes, et cetera, in the back of the church or whatever venue they're performing in. So that was my kind of start, I would say, to the music business, and also kind of me finally seeing the backside of it. I was always sitting in the seats watching the entertainment, but when they would come to town, I would go backstage and see how they set up and see how they rehearse, et cetera. Fast forward to high school and me graduating high school, I started promoting parties with some friends of mine here in Atlanta. We would do a couple of parties a year, and that eventually led me to start reaching out to some local record labels in the city to get promotional items to give out at our parties. So did that, and I noticed that, hey, people love when we give out T-shirts and cassette CDs or whatever, and a light bulb went off. I'm like, hold up, I'm actually really doing promotions for these labels. And you know, they would love for us to come and say, hey, we got 600 kids together. Can you give us some stuff? So I went to college here in Atlanta. I went to Morehouse College. And when I was in school, some of those same companies that we were reaching out to get free stuff, I started reaching out to see if there were any internships available. So I landed an internship with a company called BMG Distribution. I want to say my junior year, and that was my start in the business. You know, I started interning with BMG, and then I took a full-time, when I graduated, I took a full-time position with them, and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. But yeah, so I would say internship for sure is the way that I got officially into the.
How about you, Professor Yonas? How did you get your start in the music industry?
I guess I just was always in the music industry. I mean, high school, I think my older brother inspired me I was very competitive, and he was good at the piano, and I was quite a bit younger. So I was motivated to learn music, and I was a piano player. And in high school, just started a band and did what you do when you're a musician in high school, and ended up working with a label, made a couple records, dabbled in touring, and just got hooked on this music industry thing. I went to college with that career path in mind. I studied music, jazz piano at the University of Michigan, but also they didn't have a music industry program for me to participate in, but just sort of created my own with combining undergraduate business courses, and got another degree in business and economics. And I think I moved to London the second I graduated and started playing. I survived my 20s through my piano playing, keyboards, and then just sort of figured out how to learn Pro Tools, which had, come about when I was in college, and just started really curious about music technology and how records are made. And, my early career, I was the keyboardist on the famous band's records, and wasn't the producer, wasn't the engineer, but I was able to observe how records are made and be mentored by some great people. And I just got hooked on it. 25 or so years later, I could never imagine not wanting to make records, not wanting to make music. It's not a job. It's just it's not just even a passion. It's just a way to live. Amazing trombonist was here on campus last week, Cito Lovell, performing with Pedrito Martinez, and we were just talking about life and what's important. And it was, we both had the same philosophy: family, music. Not a lot of other time for other distractions. My story is, just a lot of hustle and decades of working and surviving in the music industry. Eventually, a bunch of people. Been blessed to work in the studio with some amazing artists, and I really do look at it, as a blessing. It's an amazing gift to have Mos Def on the other side of the glass and be able to press record. To be in a room with Lettucey, who was one of the first big artists I got to work with. So I've just been very fortunate, and now I get to pass on all that experience. I have, I'm also an artist manager and run a production company, do a lot of work in licensing, and do lots of different things. But my story is really that of just an obsessed musician that didn't want to ever have to get a real job.
So, you guys come from obviously different walks of life, big spiral to even get to where you guys are now today. But I guess the question is, why did you guys choose Georgia State? I know you guys mentioned it earlier that Atlanta and Georgia State in itself has something special since it's right here. And like you said, it's like the mecca of art, what I mean? Everyone comes here. A lot of pop culture comes from Atlanta. But is there any other reason why you guys chose Georgia State specifically to be professors in, to just be here and set up MTM?
Well, being from Atlanta, I've watched Georgia State. I've watched the evolution of Georgia State. I remember when it was truly kind of like night school, whole different, kind of makeup than the way it is now. Even from just the real estate, Atlanta, Georgia State has taken over downtown Atlanta now. And so that alone, has been pretty impressive to me, just witnessing the growth. My sister did a grad program here at Georgia State, as well as my mom did a grad program at Georgia State. So I have that affinity to the school as well. In my pursuit, I started teaching about 13 years ago. Started teaching at my alma mater here at Morehouse College. And, one unique thing about Georgia State is that amongst all the schools that are kind of in metro Atlanta, Georgia State is actually the only school that offers a BS degree in a music industry program. So, you have some other schools. There's either Kennesaw State, you have schools all throughout the city, but, they're either certificate programs, or if it's a school like, if we're talking about schools like in the AU Center, they don't even offer a music industry program at all. It's just a couple of courses. So Georgia State was very attractive in having a full-fledged program. And I knew that I wanted to, not only just teach a course here and there at a school, but I really wanted to be a part of a program with a, robust curriculum, that we can really grow. So that's what made Georgia State, very attractive to me. And I want to shout out a professor here, Dr. Marva Carter, a lifelong friend. I've known her for many, many years. And she was the one that always kind of let me know about what's happening at Georgia State. And, hey, you might find a good home here at Georgia State. And so, the planets aligned around 2018 and about 10 years into my teaching. And that is when I came here full time and been enjoying every bit of it.
Of course, that's amazing.
Since. Absolutely.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Professor Yonas? Coming from Memphis, coming from London, the Bay Area, New York, what made you end up here?
Honestly, I go where my wife. I mean, I don't have the same history and connection to Atlanta. I'm falling in love with Atlanta by the day, but I'm a transplant. I'm new to Atlanta. I go where my wife wants to be. Mm-hmm. She's a professor at Emory and does really important work with cancer research. And we moved to Memphis for her career, and we moved to Atlanta for her career. And to come to Atlanta, I remember when we were looking. She's a professor at Emory. We were looking for a place to live. We're driving around. And I just remember seeing Georgia State signs everywhere downtown Atlanta and thinking, wow, I knew right away, this is where I want to teach. Mm-hmm. I also, Googled the university. I didn't have the connection and the history, but the university serves the community in a way that is really important to me. I love the fact that it's an affordable university. Mm-hmm. It doesn't leave students piled in debt and take advantage of them. And I want to be part of that process of creating success. To me, student success is, yes, it's graduating, but it's also succeeding in life. Mm-hmm. Being prepared to take on the world. Doesn't mean everyone succeeds and lands their dream job the year they graduate or the year after, but everything I want to do is just pointed towards preparation for that moment. And I feel like this is a great place for me. I'm very grateful to work here.
So now shifting towards MTM, how did you guys come to me, and what was it like conceiving MTM?
Well, I'll start. Again, I shouted out Al earlier because he was one of the first people to say, hey, there might be an opening here. Mm-hmm. Get your application in. So I really do appreciate him, much like you mentioned another one of our amazing colleagues who looked out for him and pointed him towards an opportunity, Dr. Carter. So in terms of how we met, you survive the music industry. I hate to use that word, but I'm being honest. The music industry is tough. So survival is an appropriate word. 20 years of making a living, providing for your family in the music space is difficult. Mm-hmm. It requires a real commitment, but you do that long enough, then you just get connected to all the right people. So Al and I have lots of mutual friends and connections. I don't even remember who at first put us in touch, but we had a coffee here. I remember right in front of the Rialto, the Starbucks right in front. And, here I am working. My office is the same building as his now. It's amazing. But we just know each other through the music industry, and that's sort of where we got connected.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add to that, yeah, as the months and years go by, every other week, we're realizing another person that we know mutually, et cetera. But I remember, an email in my inbox, and it was from, Ben Yonas. And he was like, hey, it's something maybe like new to town, would love to, catch up and just talk about any opportunities that might be available, at the school. And I get those messages from time to time. And it was sometimes, again, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes things are just perfect timing. And we scheduled a meeting, and Ben had great energy. You knew he was, super passionate about not only just music and the music industry, but helping young people and just sharing all that he's learned over time as well. So I knew that, whenever I could find an opportunity that might be interesting to him, I wanted to share it with him. And, and as he said, now we've been working together now for, about 2-3 years now.
Mm-hmm. So how did conceiving MTM come about? Like, who had the idea, or how did you guys clash to bring that together?
So when I came to Georgia State, I had in my mind that I would love to set up a student-run record label. Mm-hmm. When I was teaching, when I was an adjunct teacher in the AU Center, I just didn't have that bandwidth because I was only able to teach a course there. So around about the time that I met with Ben for the first time, he was just telling me about all the success that he'd had at his previous institution running a student-run label. So that was super cool because I wanted to do it. He had already done it, so I knew that we had the pieces of the puzzle there. The catalyst for it was actually President Blake. Thank you to President Blake, president of Georgia State University. There was a call for grants that was put out to, pretty much across the entire university, an innovation grant, really just to come up with some ideas that are, sustainable, something that could help students with their from college to career, et cetera. And so that I feel that was a perfect time for us to kind of write up this proposal to start, what became MTM Standard, our student run record label. And thankfully, President Blake and his staff, they believed in what we put in that proposal as well. And we were awarded seed money to launch MTM Standard. And initially it was to, be this student run record label, which we kind of quickly positioned it as a distribution company as opposed to a record label. And that way we could kind of focus on lots of different music as opposed to just maybe focusing on one or two artists. And Ben, from the work that he did, I'm sure he'll talk about that momentarily as well. Ben was very involved in the sync licensing space, which, I work in sync outside of Georgia State, but he had the idea, why don't we just do a student run sync, licensing business as well, which has, turned out to be fantastic. So we have a distribution arm, we have a sync licensing arm, and then also there's an arm that books events.
So considering MTM is a new kid on the block, basically, how did the very early days of MTM look like?
Well, I'll start by saying, last year, 22-23, thanks to President Blake, we were able to start off with the RISE grant and some seed money. We didn't have any other structure. We just put together a volunteer army of amazing students like your colleague, Mr. Wes Barrett, and we started building. And from there, fast forward a year, now there's a course, Record Company Operations, that is a full year-long course that has now become like the capstone experiential course for both of our areas, music management and music production.
I'll just add to that, it was a little rocky, simply because, as Professor Yonas just said, it was just kind of an all call, whoever wants to participate in this new student run label or student run music group, meet at this time. We kind of had the WhatsApp groups going. And with any situation where it's a massive group effort, you have, a few people that really, really double down and do a lot of work and have a lot of passion about it. And you have others that may have come but didn't realize exactly that, hey, this is work. In order to build a label, there's some heavy lifting up front. So I think we kind of worked through all of that in the first year and still working out some things, to be honest with you. But on the side of our artists, the artists were very excited about the opportunities that they were afforded through MTM Standard. We had some releases with some success. We had some artists land on playlists. So I think that just the general consumer looking on the outside in, it wasn't as rocky, right? But, knowing how efficiently we, know that this operation could run, we certainly had to enact some things. And one of the biggest things, as Professor Yonas stated, was creating a course where the label can run out of a course.
So seeing how big MTM has gone so far, what heights do you think MTM can reach 2 to 5 years from now?
Just more success stories. It's all about, it's not a class project. It's not a group project. I mean, a school project. Like, we are helping our students compete in an industry that they have kind of put a flag in the ground, said, I want to be a musician. I want to be in the music industry. And I also want to stress the fact that, everything that we do at MTM Standard is to help both the emerging executive talent as well as the creative talent. So it's not just a thing that we're focused on artists, but we're also focused on building the future lawyers, building future music supervisors, building future managers, and sync licensing people, etc. So I say that to say, to allow to set our students up in a way that when they leave Georgia State, they in their interviews with potential companies, they can say, I was an influential part of my student run record label, and be able to point to playlists on Spotify or be able to point to awards. You know, I know Professor Yonas said awards aren't the end all be all, but in 3 or 4 years, let's allow us, or let's hope for MTM artists to have a Grammy nomination.
Right.
You know, that is where I would love to see us, grow this brand. But just to be self-sustainable and bringing in money, bringing in revenue, I think that's a measure of success. Like, we can't discount that part, and I think if we set the business up and continue to allow the students to set the business up, I say it that way, in a way that we know that we want this to become a revenue generating business, then I think we'll be headed in the right place.
I completely agree with everything that Professor Thrash just said. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about defining student success. Everyone finds their own path. There's no one way to do everything. I tell my students, you major in economics, you're not an economist the day you graduate, unless, you often need some additional training and maybe I'll go off and get a master's or continue putting in work. I think that it's all about attitude and hustle, and it's all about culture. We've worked very, very hard to establish a culture that's supportive, that involves everyone celebrating wins together as a community, as a family. This is a team sport. There's really exciting things on the horizon, things that we can't share with you right now, that, placements that we know are coming in the fall that are going to be game-changing for this program and maybe even the university. But when they happen, it's not one person that got a cool thing or it's a team effort. It's a team sport. I think that some big success is right around the corner. And, in terms of what I envision, it's just growing and building. And I see the way that the city of Atlanta, the way the state of Georgia approaches the music industry evolving. And I see Georgia State as a key piece of that change. And I'm really excited about that.
But yeah, as we wrap up our final episode of MTM Review, it's been your host, Bryan Gallegos, with our special guests,
Al Thrash,
Ben Yonas.
And thank you for tuning in.
Couple times. I know we'll never have a chance, and that's fine. That's fine. 'Cause you live in my head. It's not real life, but instead I wish you could see the things we do when I'm with you. How can you look at me that way and not say a word? 'Cause you know it hurts. Ooh, don't know if I can get over this crush, this adrenaline rush with you. My friends have told me I should probably give you some space. Yeah. Even though I know you don't know that I've been feeling this way. You've been in my head since the day we met. Gotta wish that you could feel it too when I'm with you. How can you look at me that way and not say a word? 'Cause you know it hurts. Ooh, don't know if I can get over this crush, this adrenaline rush with when I'm with you. How can you look at me that way and not say a word? 'Cause you know it hurts. Ooh, don't know if I can get over this crush, this adrenaline rush with you. I hate you 'cause I think of you at 4 a.m. awake in my room. I know you'd crack a smile if you knew how hard I've tried to make an excuse. I can't even look you straight in the eye, but I stars. I can't focus on anything long, but you're a fixation I can't turn off. I'm trying to think about how I could tell you just what I mean without opening my mouth, speaking through closed teeth, eyes racing around. Wish you could look at me and just tell, but I hide everything a bit too well. I've got that empty resting face, look at me like I'm a cold pig. Something about that Libra moon makes me think that I need you, but don't paint me as a fool, 'cause those stars don't know you like I do. And I'm feeling sorry for myself again, but I'm still gonna miss this chance, 'cause I don't know just what I want until it all goes wrong. So I'm never gonna let you know how I felt for a month or so. I'm gonna push everything down until that new one comes around. Libra moon makes me think that I need you, but don't paint me as a fool, 'cause those stars don't know you like I do. Libra moon makes me think that I need you, but don't paint me as a fool, 'cause those stars don't know you like I do. I do. I do.
What you just heard here on MTM Review on album 88 was Crush by Emma Holloman and Libra Moon by Zoe Bayani. Emma is a current student here at Georgia State and can be followed on Instagram at Emma Holloman, all one word. That's spelled EMMAHOLLOMAN. Zoe is a recent graduate of Georgia State and can be followed at Zoe I Bayani, also one word. That's spelled ZOEIBAYANI. And as always, with any comments, questions, or concerns, you can call the station during business hours at 404-413-9727. That's 404-413-WRAS. Or if you'd like to contact this show specifically, you can email me at wes7629@gmail.com. Again, that email is WES7629@gmail.com. Well, that's a wrap for not only this show, but the series of shows for this semester. As the producer and editor for this show, it's been a true privilege and honor to be able to present this show for you to listen to, and have learned a lot about what it means to produce for radio. This is my final semester here at Georgia State, which means I'll be graduating 2 weeks from today. I'm not sure what's next for the future of this show, but I hope the partnership between Album 88 and MTM Standard continues to grow and flourish even more in the future. As what's next for me, I'm also not sure, but if you'd like to keep up with what I get up to in the future, Feel free to follow my personal Instagram at west.kana_, that is west.kana_, or email me at west7629@gmail.com. For this episode, our producer, editor, and host is Wesley Barrett. Our journalist is Bryan Gallegos. Our engineer is Wesley Barrett. Our opening theme music was Determination by Jonathan Tanksley. Our closing theme music is Fall For You by Cameron Cho. Both artists are current GSU students. This program is produced in partnership with MTM Standard Music Group, Georgia State University's student-run record label and sync house. Some portions of this program may be graded schoolwork for students in the College of the Arts. Opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Album 88, MTM Standard, or the College of the Arts. For more information on our continued commitment to editorial independence in all of student media, please visit mtmstandard.com/WRAS. You can also go to that link to find recordings of all the shows that have aired throughout this semester. Lastly, on behalf of the entire MTM Review team, I would like to truly thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed hearing perspectives from both artists and leadership about what it means to be involved with a student-led record label. So, for the final time, this has been your host, Wesley Barrett, signing off on MTM Review on Album 88.